Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Garden a Day with Maidenbrock Gardens, where we explore the world one garden at a time. Happy first day of spring! In today's episode, we revisit 6 gardens in California that are great to visit this spring. So here we go. How do you know spring has sprung? Well, if you are at the site of today's garden, you know it when one of my absolute favorite flowers starts blooming. What is that flower, and where are we? Why, it's ranunculus, and we are at the flower fields at Carlsbad Ranch in beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. The big attraction at the flower fields is, of course, the 55 acres of 13 colors of giant ranunculus, a dazzling rainbow of beautiful flowers planted in tidy rows. Ranunculus is native to Asia Minor and is a member of the buttercup family. They're hardy in zones 8 through 10 and need to be treated as annuals in colder zones. The variety grown in the flower fields is considered one of the finest on earth. They've partnered with Easy to Grow Bulbs to sell a flower fields collection. All of this flower growing has been going on for nearly 100 years. A gentleman by the name of Luther Gage set to planting ranunculus seeds on his farm in South Oceanside in the 1920s, next to a vegetable farm owned by Frank Frazee. Frank liked the idea of growing flowers and started growing them on his own farm. Frank's son Edwin soon joined the farming business and took the flower breeding process to the next level. He began collecting seeds and selectively growing for size and color. The result are the 13 colors seen today at the flower fields. Edwin moved the farm several times and settled in 1965 on land owned by the Eck family, who still own the land today. The Eck family were poinsettia growers, but had moved their growing operation into greenhouses by 1965. Today at the flower fields, you can visit the historic poinsettia display, a 1,500 square foot greenhouse with Paul Eck's poinsettias. Hundreds of poinsettias fill the greenhouse with more than 20 varieties of rare and unusual poinsettias on display. In the 1990s, Milano and Company took over the growing operation, and Paul Eck looked to tourism to improve the financial viability of the flower growing business. And from those roots, the flower fields were born. Paul Eck Jr. passed away in 2002, and Edwin Frazee passed away in 2004. But the flower fields remain today as a sustainable working farm and a testament to their love of growing flowers. In addition to ranunculus and poinsettias, visitors will find a 5-acre field of sunflowers, 2 acres of blueberries, a cymbidium orchid greenhouse, and the American flag of flowers, a display of red, white, and blue petunias planted each year in honor of those who died on September 11th. Expect to get lost in the sweet pea maze of more than 23 varieties of sweet peas. I hear this maze gets a bit tricky. Once you are free, check out the Illusion Garden, where things aren't exactly as you would expect them to be. The Sculpture Garden of glass sculptures is a pure delight, with butterfly benches and the fields of ranunculus as the backdrop. The display Glass in Flight includes sculptures by artist Alex Haveri of larger-than-life insects and birds crafted out of glass and steel. The Pothead Garden is an interesting and whimsical display of more than 15 concrete busts overflowing with flowers. You can also enjoy the Mediterranean Garden and Don Miller's Garden, named for a local artist, with aviaries with doves and finches. Or join the Master Gardeners of San Diego County in the Demonstration Garden to learn practical, sustainable, and beautiful ways to grow in your own garden. The Demonstration Garden includes 9 vignettes showcasing native plants, a small orchard, a pollinator bed, and more. In addition to the fabulous blooms, visitors can enjoy a tractor wagon ride or sign up for an action-packed schedule of events, including outdoor concerts, yoga and Pilates, flower crown making, suncatcher making, wine tasting, afternoon tea in the garden, and lots more. There's something to do just about every day of the season. Educational programs for children, including field trips and art and music activities, are also on offer. Children learn about composting, planting, the value of insects, and how to be water wise. Children will also enjoy visiting Santa's Playground, with oversized mushrooms, a crooked treehouse, and a doll's house. They might even want to try their hand at prospecting. Carlsbad Mining Company harkens back to the old days. Search for gemstones the old-fashioned gold miner way by sluicing water through boxes of sand. The flower fields at Carlsbad Ranch reopens for the season on March 1st, so you have plenty of time to plan your visit. But don't dawdle, the season is short. They close on Mother's Day in May. Purchase your tickets online before you go and plan to spend the better part of the day. Don't worry about going hungry. Food options on site include ice cream, popcorn, and other snacks, or heartier fare from the pizza and taco trolleys. I am so happy to talk about today's garden, which is really many gardens collected together in one big park. Today, we're going to Balboa Park in San Diego, California. I visited this park about 20 years ago on a trip to San Diego, and I loved it so much I went back 3 times. Balboa Park covers 1,200 acres and includes 18 museums, the San Diego Zoo, hiking trails, a dog park, shopping, dining, an art center, a miniature train, a carousel, stunning architecture, and at least 15 individual gardens. If a city or a town is looking to revitalize, Balboa Park should be the blueprint to follow. You will find the balance of culture, sophistication, entertainment, nourishment, nature, beauty. It's truly elevated accessibility. It's a place open to all. It's quite nice. And it's been described as a masterpiece, and it really is. It's quite lovely. Balboa Park began as an intentional effort by San Diego's civic leaders in 1868 to shape 1,400 acres into a city park. By 1892, the first major beautification of the park occurred when local nurserywoman Kate Sessions offered to plant 100 trees a year in the park in exchange for 32 acres of land to house her nursery. She was instrumental in introducing birds of paradise, queen palms, and poinsettia into the park. Several of her trees are still standing all these years later. Between 1903 and 1910, a formal plan for the park took shape, and much of what we see today was designed during that time. Today, you can enjoy the natural beauty of a rather manicured outdoors while jogging, walking, or biking on the various trails through the park, or visit the individual gardens in the park, including the Inez Grant Parker Memorial Rose Garden, which includes about 1,600 roses blooming between March and December. The peak time for blooms is April and May. Or enjoy Palm Canyon, where you'll stroll among 450 palms, some dating as far back as 1912. You might also enjoy the Trees for Health Garden, a garden for medicinal plants from around the world. Or visit the Kate Sessions Cactus Garden, designed for the 1935 California Pacific International Exposition. Or the Florida Canyon Native Plant Preserve, which provides a critical habitat for native wildlife. You might also enjoy the Zorro Garden, a sunken stone grotto that has been transformed into a colorful butterfly garden with plants that attract and nurture the growth of butterflies. There are teaching gardens and demonstration gardens throughout Balboa Park. The Botanical Building, completed in July 1914, was recently renovated and features more than 2,100 permanent plants, including ferns, orchids, cycads, palms, and other tropical species. Next to the Botanical Building is a lily pond and a lagoon. There are also micro gardens throughout the park, nestled among the many cultural buildings, landmarks, and pavilions. And the San Diego Zoo also offers stunning plant displays throughout its wildlife habitats. Balboa Park is one of my absolute favorite public places on Earth. There's so much to see and do. You really must spend more than a day there to be able to take it all in. I'd like to hear your favorite plant places. What gardens do you want to visit again and again? Let me know by leaving a comment or a review where you listen to the podcast. The first word that will most likely come to mind when first seeing today's garden is wow, if you are able to articulate any word at all. Today we are exploring Lotusland in Montecito, California. Lotusland is the fulfillment of one woman's gardening desires. Madame Ganavalska purchased the 37-acre estate in Montecito in 1941 at age 54 and spent the next 43 years creating the garden that visitors enjoy today. Born in Poland in 1887, Madame Walska studied singing in Paris and performed as a concert singer touring Europe and America. In 1922, she purchased the majority share of the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées, which she managed for 10 years and owned for 50. In 1927, she entered the perfume and cosmetic business to help defray some of the costs of running the theater. In 1929, she purchased a country estate outside of Versailles and began gardening. Meanwhile, in California, the land that would become Lotusland was purchased in 1882, 5 years before Ganowalska was born, by Kenton Stevens. He named the property Tanglewood and used it as a commercial nursery. In 1916, the property was purchased by Palmer and Marie Gavitt. They renamed the property Cuesta Linda and hired architect Reginald Johnson to construct a Spanish colonial-style home on the property. The house was completed in 1920. Several years later, the Gavitts added a swimming pool, bathhouse, pavilion, stable, and several other outbuildings to the property. In 1939, after the deaths of the Gavitts, the property was purchased by Sir Humphrey Clark, a British diplomat, who then sold the estate to Madame Ganowalska in 1941. She renamed the estate Tibetland. A year earlier, Walska had met Theos Bernard, a yoga practitioner and considered by some to be one of the first Westerners to bring Buddhism, yoga, and other spiritual practices of India to popularity. In 1942, they married. This was to be Walska's sixth and final husband. The couple planned to bring Tibetan monks to the property to stay, but World War II interfered with their plans. They were never able to accomplish their plan, and in 1946, they divorced. Ganowalska renamed the estate Lotusland after the abundance of lotus flowers in the pond and spent the next 38 years gardening at Lotusland. She passed away in 1984, leaving her entire estate to the Ganowalska Lotusland Foundation to ensure its care and maintenance far into the future. The foundation repaired walkways, readied the garden, hired staff, and built a visitor center before opening to the public in 1993. Since then, repairs and renovations to the garden and the buildings have been ongoing. Today, there are more than 20 gardens within the garden of tropical and subtropical plants, cacti, and succulents. Directly in front of the house is a collection of cacti and euphorbias planted in 1941, shortly after Ganowalska purchased the property. There is an additional cactus garden donated to Lotusland in 1966 and not installed in the garden until 1999. There are separate gardens dedicated to succulents, aloe, ferns, and bromeliads. A notable garden is the Blue Garden, begun as the Silver Garden in 1948 with the planting of blue atlas cedars. Other blue plants were added to complement the cedars, and by the mid-1950s, the garden was considered one of the chicest gardens in California. The single-color garden was very much of its time. Another notable garden is the Theater Garden. Here, visitors will find a number of stone statues, many quite amusing, that represent familiar characters of satire and tragicomedy. The Water Garden was originally designed in the 1920s as the swimming pool and bathhouse. By the time Madame Walska purchased the estate in the 1940s, the pool was cracked and needed repair. She decided to transform the pool into a pond and added aquatic plants. This is where the garden, with its abundance of lotus blooms, gets its name. The flowers bloom in greatest abundance in July and August. Water lilies, duckweed, and other aquatic plants are also found there. Visitors will also find a Japanese garden, Australian garden, and an orchard with around 160 fruit trees. Lotusland was one of the first public gardens to make significant efforts of sustainability. They are a fully organic garden that makes its own compost tea and tends an insectary garden to attract pollinators and beneficial insects. The garden offers educational programs and events throughout the year. Area 4th graders are invited to the garden each year for a junior botany program, and there are resources for teachers as well. Adults will enjoy yoga in the garden, as well as meditation, sound bath, and Reiki. This summer, the garden will host a summer picnic on the lawn and a garden gala. Lotusland is located in a residential area and adheres to a strict admission policy. The local government dictates how many visitors can be on the property on any given day and at what hours. The garden is open Wednesday to Saturday with only 2 tours per day. Advance reservations are required. Today we are exploring Antelope Valley, California Poppy Reserve in Lancaster, California. The California poppy is the state flower of California, and it's a popular flower for homeowners to plant in their yards. The Antelope Valley, California Poppy Reserve is a 1,700-acre park with fields of poppies blanketing the earth for as far as the eyes can see. The reserve is administered by the California Department of Parks and Recreation. The intention of the reserve is to keep the fields in a strictly natural state, so the Parks and Rec Department lets nature do its job. They don't water or fertilize the flowers, but they do light controlled fires as needed to control exotic species and dead brush. Peak bloom time is usually just about right now. It's any time between mid-March and April, but it always depends on how much rainfall the fields receive during winter. Poppies only open when the weather conditions are just right. Temperatures have to be above the mid-50s, and it has to be sunny and not too windy. Their delicate little petals tear easily, and the plants know when conditions are good and when it's best to stay closed. The Parks Department does have a poppy cam, so you can check out the blooms from the comfort of your own home. Poppies aren't the only wildflowers in the reserve. When you walk through the reserve, you can report the wildflowers you see to help the reserve catalog the location and species. There's a QR code on the park's website with instructions on how to help. I've included the website in the notes. There are 8 miles of trails in the reserve, including a paved section for wheelchair access. Under California law, it is illegal to pick a California poppy or any flower in the reserve. So look, but don't touch. Apparently, there are snakes in this garden, so it's best to stay on the trails. You might also see meadowlarks, lizards, coyotes, and bobcats. The Jane S. Pinero Interpretive Center is open from March 1st to Mother's Day in May. At the center, visitors can enjoy a welcome video, gift shop, wildflower and wildlife exhibits, and a gallery of Pinero's watercolor paintings. The park is open all year long from sunrise to sunset. This is the Mojave High Desert, so pack some sunscreen and plenty of water. And know before you go that you won't find any shade on the trails. Whether you like orange flowers or not, the blooming fields of California poppies are a sight to behold. One of the best things to find in the heart of a big city is a botanical oasis. And that's what we've found at today's garden. San Francisco Botanical Gardens in San Francisco, California. Spanning 55 acres, the garden is home to more than 8,000 different kinds of plants from around the world. Within the garden, visitors will find a California native garden featuring towering redwoods, and the ancient plant garden featuring plants that date back to the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. There are 2 cloud forests, a Mesoamerican cloud forest with tropical oak and pine trees, and the Andean cloud forest with Andean wax palms, the tallest palms in the world. There is also a succulent garden, a South African garden, and a children's garden. Possibly the most peaceful place in San Francisco is the Moon Viewing Garden with stone pagodas and Japanese plants. Plans for the garden began in the 1880s, but funding delayed action. It wasn't until 1927 when Helene Stribing, widow of San Francisco investor and landowner C.H. Stribing, offered the seed money to plant the garden. More funding was acquired through the Works Progress Administration during the Great Depression. This is another garden that we are happy to have because of the WPA, and construction began in 1937. The garden opened to the public in 1940. The garden includes several collections, including beautiful magnolias and camellias that are best seen in winter when they're in bloom. Their collection of magnolias is one of the best in the United States, with more than 200 trees. Many are rare and historic. When the weather begins to warm, the Garden of Fragrance is a lovely place to explore. Active visitors will enjoy the John Muir Nature Trail, and world travelers will enjoy seeing the collections of plants from Australia, New Zealand, Chile, and Mexico. The garden is also home to a new plant nursery and a botanical library. The garden hosts monthly plant sales and several events throughout the year, including yoga in the garden, talks by master gardeners, music and photography workshops, forest bathing, sketching workshops, and many more. They also offer garden camp in summer for children ages 5 to 14 and an after-school program during the school year. For younger children, they offer story time and family outings that allow children to dig, water, build, pick, and explore the garden. San Francisco Botanical Gardens is one of the gardens of Golden Gate Park, along with the Conservatory of Flowers and the Japanese Tea Garden. I've added those to my list for future episodes. The garden is free to enter every morning from 7:30 to 9, as well as all day the second Tuesday of every month, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. Closing time changes seasonally. This season, the garden closes at 7, with last entry at 6. Free guided tours are available. Today, we are headed to the City of Arts and Flowers, located in the Valley of Arts and Flowers, to the Lompoc Flower Fields in Santa Barbara County, California. Right now is a good time to visit the Lompoc Flower Fields, blooming from April to September, with peak bloom usually occurring in June. The flower fields come alive with vibrant colors and dazzle visitors with lilies, alyssum, stock, delphiniums or larkspur, and sweet peas. The flowers are grown by commercial growers in privately owned fields, but tours are available for visitors as well as many photo opportunities. Since the early 1900s, the Lompoc Valley has been a commercial hub for seeds and cut flowers. Mustard was the first crop grown here commercially, followed by sweet peas grown for export to England. Growing for seed was the mainstay of flower businesses for much of the 20th century, but in recent years, growers have shifted to growing cut flowers for nurseries and florists. More than 80% of cut flower production in the United States comes from California, and more than half of that comes from Santa Barbara County. The Lompoc Valley is not just for growing flowers. With the most consistent temperate climate in the world, food production in the valley is abundant. A visit to the flower fields will most likely also include seeing fields of cauliflower, kale, parsley, broccoli, artichokes, cabbage, celery, spinach, and orchards of walnuts. And don't forget the vineyards. Wine grapes have been growing in the Lompoc Valley since the 18th century, and today local vineyards are producing award-winning wines. Lompoc hosts the Lompoc Flower Festival the last full weekend of June, and has since 1952. The Flower Festival includes a carnival, arts and crafts vendors, live entertainment, and plenty of food. Well, that's about it for today's garden visit. Subscribe to the podcast to find out where we're going next. Thank you for listening today and every day. If all goes well, I'll be right back here in about 2 weeks. See you then.